So there are some design considerations whenever it comes to designing a web application versus a website. They operate very, very differently. So let's focus on probably the most obvious and largest factor of how we design these two different platforms, and that is the way that we interact with a web application is very different than the way that we interact with a website. A website traditionally is interacted with scrolling and simple single clicks. We expect clicks to take us to new pages, to open up new tabs, to do various things, maybe play or pause media. And we expect scrolling to move us up and down a page and view different pieces of content. Now, obviously, that's very different from a web application such as Google Maps, what I have open right now, where those interactions do different things. So, for example, if I scroll, that zooms in and out. There's also zooming in and out buttons over here. If I click, it plots a point, and if I drag my mouse, it drags me around the screen. I can type. There's various keyboard shortcuts I can press. My mouse actually disappears after a certain amount of time on the screen. There's dragging the little street view guy around, right? We're all familiar with these different types of interactions here. But what's important is that this is so different than the user experience of a website. So for a user experience in a website, I really design things to be clicked on, right? I design them to be clicked on or to be scrolled through. With a web application, it's kind of like all bets are off. There's things that are clicked on, there's things that are dragged on, tons of different interactions, and you need to keep that in mind whenever you're designing that. You're designing this as an app. This is an application. This little hamburger menu, that's an application here. Now, yes, there are hamburger menus in web design, but they're not necessarily as widely used as they are in web applications. Um, Other things to consider, another big factor, is that web applications are specifically designed to be interacted with on a very regular basis. Websites oftentimes are designed to be updated, maybe once a week or once a day, or even possibly once a year if it's for like a company or something like that. They're designed to deliver information. We go to a website to get information and then we leave the website. That's the purpose that we're there. A web application like Google Maps or Netflix or something like that is designed to be accessed many times over and over again, and it's used as a tool by the user. So the user's coming to this website to find a specific thing, to find directions to this, or to look up reviews for this. So we use a web application, we have to design it in a way that operates a little bit differently than a website, because a website, right, we want to deliver the information immediately, as quickly as possible. A web application, we really want to focus on user experience and usability and not so much information delivery. So in this case, there's almost no information on my screen right now besides street names. As I zoom in, more information is revealed. I can click and look at information, see different things, different factors about this company or this business. I can click on different places. There's different icons that start to appear. I can start searching things. It's a dynamically loading, dynamically changing page. And the idea is that it's a tool that I'm using over and over again. Okay, that's another really important aspect to web application design versus website design. Now, lastly, web applications are usually very hyper-focused on audiences. Now, there are broader applications like Google Maps. Google Maps is focused on basically everybody that uses, a car or walks around in some fashion. That's not the case for most web applications. Most web applications that you would design are for a very particular audience, just like a mobile application, right? If I'm designing my pet care application that we talked about in a previous video, that pet care application is really going to be useful for people that are seeking pet care, right? That's my audience. That's who I'm driving for. Versus a website where my website is usually a broad description of my services or a broad description of some piece of information regarding a business or something, which is really targeted towards a very broad audience. Web applications generally, unless it's something like Google Maps, we really want to focus in on who our audience is and answer that question and design it for them. I'm going to focus on usability, aesthetics, all of those things for that user, for that person. So just to quickly cover those again, we have how we interact with the page. We have the number of times we interact with the page, right? Do we keep coming back to it and using it as a tool? And lastly, we have our audience and how focused we are on the audience. So those are all big differences between websites and web applications and how we use them.